Pastor.
Ma'am? I'm going to have to do it this way. Okay. What is wrong with Jesus today? What's going on with him? You know, we had a choice this morning. If you saw the brackets in your gospel lesson, we could have read just the latter half of the gospel reading, but we chose to read the whole thing today. I suppose in part that's because I couldn't see reading just the last half of it. So in the first half, we hear this story that Jesus says that though he may be there to uphold the whole of the law, by that he does not mean that necessarily every letter of the law will be upheld. You see, he says to them, it's not about what you eat. It's not even about if you wash your hands before you eat. Okay, so as we're getting ready to send everybody to school, rest assured the schools are still going to have the kids wash their hands. You know, we're still going to have a little cleanser back there before communion. We're still going to do all those things. But moms, those of you who are out here who are real concerned right now, we can agree that it is good, that it is important to wash our hands and to watch what it is that we put in our mouth. But in this gospel, Jesus says very explicitly, it's not what you put into your mouth that makes you impure. So I guess I kind of have to go back to the old camp routines, the old maxims from camp. I remember when I was young in 8th grade and I went to Camp Koinonia up in New York State. Some of you may have even been there at some point. And I remember one of our advisors watching us and then pointing out, said if we were in the fanciest, swankiest, most expensivest, or that was not right, but anyway, restaurant in the whole city, you know, one of these places that you only go to on a very special occasion, unless you've got it that way that you can go all the time. And if it's all of that, you know that it's also probably one of the cleanest places, right? And if in that restaurant you should happen to drop your fork, even if you only drop it for 1 or 2 seconds, you drop your fork on the floor, what is the next thing that we would be doing? Waiter, I need a new fork, please, right? I mean, even if it's only been 1 or 2 seconds. But then at camp, he noticed, we're there cooking hot dogs stuck on a stick over a hot flame. And you know what happens to a hot dog stuck on a stick being cooked over a flame? What happens to it?
Fall in the dirt and make it up to you.
Oh, yeah, the whole story. I needed time to build it up. But yes, he's exactly right. It falls into the flames. It rolls down through the ashes. You pick that baby up, you knock the ashes off, you stick it back on the stick, stick it back in the fire until it's ready. When it's done, you take it off, you slap it into that bun, and you put a little bit of ketchup, a little mustard, a little relish, whatever you want, or none of the above if you haven't got, and you eat it. Right? That's camp rules for you, right? So here's the second picture on that one. Oh boy. I don't know, this cursor keeps disappearing. There it is. Okay, it's not a hot dog, it's a Cheeto, but somebody's going to pick it up. And you know what? Just because you're in camp, whether it's Camp Koinonia, and just because it's Lutheran, you're going to eat that hot dog or whatever camp it is, right, Mike? Whatever camp it is, wherever you're at, you're still going to eat and enjoy that hot dog, and it'll be the best thing that you had going. By the way, if you're a follower of the 5-second rule, then I need to show you one more thing here. This 5-second rule for food dropped on the ground does not work if you have a 2-second dog. Just letting you know, just pointing it out. Jesus. Jesus says those who live by the law and are upset by what he says, God will uproot them from the garden. And as he finishes saying that, he turns and his disciples, and along with his disciples, they go out. His disciples who still have less than a full understanding. I mean, he still had to say to Peter, what, even you still don't get it? You still don't understand? And on his way out, Jesus breezes by a woman who is standing there, who is not of the tribe of Israel. She's a Canaanite woman. But she has come, not by chance, not by accident. She has come to see him. And her concern in coming to see him has nothing to do with food going into the stomach through the mouth. It has nothing to do with words or anything that come out of the mouth. Simply, this woman is on a mission. And Jesus walks right past her. Her mission is serious, and Jesus doesn't stop to even give her the time of day. What is her mission? She's there on behalf of her child. You see, her daughter is dying. And she's heard about Jesus. She knows that he can heal his daughter. She has heard of his power. She's heard of his compassion. She has heard of his mercy, and she has heard of his grace. The one thing that she doesn't count on is that he would just ignore her. Just like others already had ignored her. Just because she had the wrong background. Just because she came from the wrong people. She remains persistent. And all of a sudden, Jesus lets some things come out of his mouth that we would never expect to hear him say. We might say some of these things, but never Jesus. Here's what he says, I'm only here for the Israelites. I'm not here to throw food at the dogs. Now, if she was anyone else, she might have, make that, she would have gotten self-righteous. I know you didn't just call me a dog, Jesus. Did you all hear him? He just called me a dog. Who does he think he is? But not this woman. She has no time for that. She needs Jesus, even if he doesn't think he needs her. So she keeps the same tone. She keeps the same persistency. She responds to him and says, yes, Jesus, but even the dogs eat the crumbs off the master's table. I don't need a full meal. I'm not hungry for all that. I don't want a thing for myself. Just for my daughter. You see, she has a demon. And that demon is trying to kill her. So Jesus, just say the word. That's all I need. Just say the word. I only have a mustard seed's worth of faith. But I've heard you say that that was all I needed. And I trusted you. I trusted who you are, and I trusted that what you said was true, and so here I am, and so here we are. And Jesus stops and listens, and something happens. Not just that the girl is healed, but we are told that she is healed. We're told she is healed right away. Immediately, no more questions asked. But something else You know, people always want to see Jesus as being perfect. If the scriptures are true that say that he was truly human, tempted in all ways, just like you and I are, then this moment represents a moment that is truly a learning experience, a learning moment, even for Jesus. Jesus learns that God's kingdom and God's mission is even bigger than he had up to that point even imagined. This woman with her faith, as she looks up to Jesus, has pushed him to reconsider, to learn, to grow, to see that he has more work to do than with just the people that he was sent to be with. You remember the story of Jacob? He struggled all night wrestling with the angel and said, I will not let go of you until you bless me. And so this woman comes with that same thought in mind, and she wrestles with Jesus until Jesus blesses her and gives her what she needs, life and health and strength and blessing, not for herself, but for her daughter, regardless of what it costs her. So the question today, if Jesus learns something new in the midst of what he's doing, what is it that we can learn? What is it that we need to learn? What do we need to learn that will allow us to be faithful, to recognize the things that are needed so that God can work through us to make an impact? Friends, have you looked out into the world today? Have you listened to what's been going on? Because our world is showing us many places that need God's presence. Some folks have the presence to make a difference. Let me show you one. Maybe you know this guy. Maybe you've seen him before. That's right, Pope Francis. Pope Francis flew this week to Asia and to South Korea. He got special clearance to fly through Chinese airspace. You know, when I heard that, I says, wow, he needed special clearance? I didn't even know. But that's not happened before. So that in itself made a statement that they let him fly through Chinese airspace. And you know what the next statement was? It was about his choice of how to travel when he got to Korea. You see the big limo that he's riding in here, right? You know what he's riding in? If you back it up a little bit, you find that he's in the city of Seoul, and he's in a Kia, which is a Korean car, and it's a Kia Soul, in fact. And there he is, and he looks like the happiest man alive today. While he's been in South Korea, he has beatified 124 Korean martyrs. People who, as part of their Christian faith, stood strong and died for their faith. He also blessed a Sudanese Christian woman. Maybe you'd heard about her. She was in jail in Sudan, and she was sentenced to be killed. Why? Because she was holding on to her Christian faith, and they wanted her to convert. So she had been sentenced to death in her country for not giving up on her Christian faith. And she made it to Korea, and the Pope blessed her. You know, I saw that, and it made me want to ask the Pope if he could also fly through Israel and Gaza. Though I have to tell you that in Israel and Gaza, Bishop Yunan, the bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Jordan and the Holy Land, is already on the ground there. And if you look in your bulletin this morning, we're asking you to look at the picture of Bishop Unin, the Lutheran bishop who's already there on the ground, already there making a difference, visiting with children who are in a hospital as a result of bombings that have taken place. I want Pope Francis to fly through Africa and those countries where Ebola is becoming such a scourge and thousands of people are dying. I want him also to fly over to Iraq and touch the mountain where our brothers and sisters are on that mountain dying for their faith. Who knows what he could do there, sitting in the back of the car, but getting out and embracing people. But then I thought some more. And I thought, you know, it's easy to ask someone else to go. It's easy to look at situations all the way around the world and say, that's where there needs to be a change. It's easy to say, Pope Francis, you could go and bring peace to the world. But then I got it. See, it's not up to Jesus and Pope Francis alone to make it all happen. We too need to learn something. And I realize that the face of the woman in the gospel is evident in all mothers. In fact, is evident in all parents. All those who want the best for their children, who want healing, who want an opportunity, not to have riches, not to have great fortunes, but just to have the chance to live life. And so last night I found another picture. You know where that picture was? Right in our backyard. It was this woman walking and saying, "You need something new. Don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot." We've been watching all week what's been going on in Ferguson. And as we've seen destruction, as we've seen the danger, we've seen what's been happening, does this woman look like she's about to take something from us? No, she wants Jesus. She wants the rest of the community, maybe the rest of the world, certainly you and me, to hear. We want to live. Can you hear her say that? Treat us with dignity and respect, and you'll be surprised at the results. It has taken years. Some say 400 years. But someone in Ferguson this week heard it. Maybe it was Captain Ron Johnson of the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Here out on the streets, talking with people who said, maybe we need to do something a little different as well. Maybe we need to walk on the streets and treat people in a different way. And when we start to talk to people and act towards them like Jesus would talk to them, when we stretch ourselves and recognize that there are ways that you can have results that are positive and fruitful, not yet a solution but progress, then by the end of the week, maybe you can get to this picture. I really like this picture. Here's a man wearing a shirt that says, "Family First." He's got his arm around the chief of police of St. Louis. And they're taking a picture together, a selfie together. What does it mean when we can get to a point where we stretch out to those who we think are the least likely to stretch out to us? The Twitter feed calls the man who was standing there with the chief of police a protester. I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. At the end of that feed, it said, "This is a changed atmosphere. It's not over yet. We know that. But we can move in a new direction as we move forward." What is it in our lives that we need to change? What is it that we need to learn? Who is it that we need to hear from and learn from Who is it that we need to speak to? Just like Jesus did. Even when it's somebody we don't always want to hear from. What are the areas in our garden that need to grow and need to become? If there is room for Jesus to grow, there is room for all of us to grow. One doggy crumb at a time. In the name of the Father and the Son